Okay, and China is a planned economy. It's a planning economy basically. The government has all the directives, and unless you see the plans in the 5-year economic development plan, all other plans except those are not implemented, in the field. So 12's currently, they are carrying out 12's 5-year plan, and they include actually state grid plan to invest 500 billion yuan to develop strong smart grids. And then they are actually, building on new ones, but they want to build with the state-of-the-art technologies. So their incentive is not to retrofit or renovate the existing ones, but they want to build a new one with the new technologies. So it's a little bit different sort of motive for the smart grid in China. And they are also they have a lot of different projects, a smart grid related project. They have 11 different types of smart grid pilot project, and they have 67 smart substations, and then they are now installing huge number of wind power, wind power generation clusters across the continent. Okay, now I move to Japan, and a lot of people are wondering what's happening in Japan, and Japan is very close to my country. And Japan also, as I said, they rely heavily on nuclear power plants, and they have currently 54 units, and 30 units are BWR, boiling water reactor, and one of them actually is, a couple of them, in BWR, it was in Fukushima Daiichi. There are 6 units. These are all boiling water reactors, and they also these are the sort of the power plant built at the first stage of nuclear power sort of expansion in Japan. It was during the middle of 1970s, and then the first one was actually built here, right, in Fukushima Daiichi. Daiichi is a number one, in Japanese. And they have a lot of problem now. Not only this one, Fukushima Daiichi, 6 units, and then also they have this Fukushima Dai-2, 4 units, and they also have a problem here in Hamaoka, Chubu Electric. They actually used to have 5 units. 2 units were under the decommissioning, and then one actually was planned to be back into the operation, but they stopped. They didn't authorize for the operation, reoperation of the power plants. And Japan will face very big difficulty because, as you see here, Japan is divided into 2 different frequency areas. It's only very unique country in the world. And there is some responsibility of Germans as well. Because, I'm sorry, this is switched. Eastern side of Japan is on 50 hertz. And AEG, it's a German company, right? AEG actually built a power plant there in, I think, 1860 something, 1860 or 1870, the first time. And then they built a generator of 50 hertz. And then after the war, the General Electric introduced a power generation system with 60 hertz. And they are very loyal to their original customers, so they are still divided, 50 and 60. And there's actually transforming stations, in 4 stations, but they have very limited capacity. So the big challenge this year probably is that this summer, and it's already getting very hot. Korea was like 29 yesterday, daytime high. So Japan must have the same. And because of this shutdown of many, about, I think, 13 units so far, and also some of the thermal power plant also shut down because of earthquake. And they are not back in operation. So in Tokyo area here, they need about 55 gigawatts of peak demand during the summertime, and they so far have secured about 35 gigawatts. So 20 gigawatts is a big gap. So I wouldn't travel to Tokyo this summer because you might not have air conditioning in your room. Okay. And Japan, has been keen on smart grid for many years actually, and they have implemented a project in Okinawa and also in the downtown Tokyo. If you go to downtown Tokyo, there's a place called Harumi Toriton Square, and then it's a kind of smart grid concept. But they have a big building, couple of big buildings with a school and in office buildings. They combine together, and then they have a meter on each, and then monitor the consumption, and then try to make the system more efficient by monitoring the consumption behavior, and then give incentives to the tenants of these buildings. And it was quite successful. Their report says that they could reduce about 50% of the electricity sort of bill they're actually paying because of the smart grid. Okay, and my country, Korea. We are, small, very small country, and but small, but not as small as Austria. We are a little bit bigger than Austria, about 20% bigger than Austria, but we have about 40 million people, 5 times more. So someone asked me the other day that why you don't have photovoltaics or solar panels or wind. We don't have natural resources, fossil fuels. And unfortunately, more unfortunate thing is that we don't have a space. Korea is as I mentioned, 40 million people living in Korea. And also 70% of the land is a rugged terrain, it's mountains. So we don't have a space to install solar panels. We have to cover entire country, every rooftop, but still it will be very small. So we have to rely on nuclear power plants, and then also the now smart grid, because 1% of energy efficiency improvement is a big sort of gain in economic terms. So our president, has announced that we will drive our society into zero carbon society, as much as we can. And one of the initiative is smart grid. So Korea now voluntarily took the responsibility of a secretariat role of a smart grid. And we are going to reduce the CO2 consumption in 2020 by 30%. Okay, I got 2 warnings from her, so I'll just stop. Let me just finish up by what are the major challenges for Northeast Asia, in terms of power consumption, in terms of smart grid. One, we have a nuclear accident, and this will impact, not only Korea, but also all countries. But the sad thing is that we don't have alternatives. We are buying oil from $140 more than $100 per barrel. We are importing oil. In year 2008, for example, we spent all our export revenues from electronics, automobiles, steels, and then cement, all combined, and petrochemicals. We spent all of this export revenue on oil in 2008. And at the time, we still suffered from the trade deficit and current balance deficit. So, we cannot really have any domestic measure to cope with, this variability of oil price. So we have to rely on, if there's an alternative, For example, in 80s, when the oil price was $20 per barrel, probably we could have, alternatives. We could import more oil, or you could import coal or natural gas. But now oil price is very high, and all the other energy prices are high. So we cannot basically, import more because we don't have enough money. And also, Korea and Japan and China are export-oriented, manufacturing-based economy. We have to produce to survive. And so our energy consumption will be very robust regardless. And smart grid will play a very important role to optimize sort of our energy system, for the manufacturing as well. And then, as I mentioned, very limited new and renewable energy potential, both in Korea and Japan. So I think energy efficiency improvement through smart grid has a top priority in national agenda for both Korea and Japan. Thank you very much.